The story begins far away from anything unusual. On a quiet evening when a small family was driving home after visiting relatives. The road they chose cut through a peaceful forest, the kind of place where the air feels fresh and the world seems slow. Their dog sat in the back seat, sometimes sticking its head out of the window to feel the cool breeze. It was the kind of night where nothing felt dangerous or strange. Everything appeared normal, simple, and calm. The father drove slowly because the road was narrow and the lights of the car seemed to get swallowed by the trees around him. The mother was looking at the map on her phone, trying to see if there was a faster way home. Their young son had fallen asleep, leaning against the window with the dog's head resting on his lap. They were just an ordinary family going home after a long day, but sometimes the most unexpected things happen on the quietest nights. While they drove, the father noticed the radio kept losing signal. First, there was a bit of static. Then the music faded completely. The car's dashboard flickered for a moment, and the mother looked up from her phone, confused. Her screen suddenly froze, and the navigation app closed by itself. She tried to open it again, but the phone wouldn't respond. They both felt a strange tension in the air, like the moment right before a storm, except the sky was clear and filled with stars. The dog lifted its head and started to stare outside, as if it sensed something no human could see. Animals often do that, notice things earlier than people. The father tried to stay calm. He thought it was just a technical glitch. Cars sometimes act strange in remote areas where signals are weak. He kept driving, hoping the road would soon lead them back toward the main highway. But then something unusual happened. Soft humming sound began to fill the air. At first, it was so faint that the father thought it was just the engine. But the sound kept growing, becoming clearer and deeper. It didn't sound like any machine they knew. It felt like it was coming from everywhere at once. The sky, the trees, even the ground beneath the car. The dog began to whine softly, nudging the sleeping boy's shoulder. The mother placed a hand on the dog to calm it down, but even she felt unsettled. She looked out of the window, expecting to see another car, or maybe a helicopter. But the sky looked normal. The humming sound grew stronger. The lights of the car dimmed slowly, as though something was pulling energy away. The father pressed the accelerator, but the car refused to move any faster. The engine sputtered. The headlights flickered again. Without warning, everything went silent. The car rolled to a stop in the middle of the narrow road. There was no engine sound, no radio, no breeze. Even the forest around them seemed to freeze. Not a single leaf moved. The dog barked once, loud and sharp, breaking the silence. The mother whispered, "What's happening?" Not expecting an answer. None of them knew that something far above the forest had been watching them for a long time. Not a satellite, not a drone. Something far more advanced, high above the clouds. An alien vessel hovered silently. To humans, it would have been impossible to spot. Its surface blended with the night sky, and its design was far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. Inside it, a group of scientists from a distant galaxy studied different species across the universe. They weren't hostile. They weren't conquerors. They simply observed life on different worlds, learning, researching, and trying to understand how different beings behaved. They had been tracking Earth for centuries, watching humans grow and evolve. But this time, they were not here to observe humanity itself. They had brought with them a massive bioengineered Creature One, created in their own labs. It was powerful, unpredictable, and extremely difficult to control. The creature had been designed for a purpose the family would never know. But something unexpected had happened. The aliens had realized the creature did not respond well to familiar environments. It reacted strangely to their own species, becoming aggressive or withdrawn whenever they approached Dot, so they made a decision, one they believed was logical. They needed to test how the creature behaved around life forms it had never encountered. Completely new beings. And to them, humans seemed interesting, emotionally expressive, protective toward each other, capable of forming strong bonds. If the creature could learn calm behavior from observing a stable group, the aliens believed they might finally understand its instincts. The vessel scanned the area and located the family's car isolated, quiet, and surrounded by nature. A perfect place. Back on the road, the father tried to restart the engine, but the key did nothing. The mother tried her phone again, still frozen. The boy slowly woke up, confused by the stillness. The dog stood alert, its ears pointed upward. Then the humming sound returned, louder than before. The sky above the car lit up with a soft, white glow, smooth, steady, not like lightning or a helicopter beam. It was silent but powerful. The light grew brighter, surrounding the car as if placing it inside a bubble. The family felt weightless for a moment. The boy grabbed his mother's hand. The father instinctively held on to the steering wheel, even though the car was no longer moving. The dog pressed its body closer to the child, trembling but protective. There was no sharp movement, no pain, no loud noise. Just light gently lifting them. The road disappeared beneath them. The trees shrank. The night sky expanded all around like a giant curtain opening dot in a matter of seconds. The car, the family, and the dog vanished from Earth, taken silently into the alien vessel. When the light faded, they were no longer inside their car. They woke up inside a large, quiet space filled with soft blue lighting and a strange, purified smell. The floor was smooth but not cold. The walls seemed to shift color slightly, as if responding to movement. The environment felt both natural and artificial, like a park built inside a machine. The boy sat up first, looking around with a mix of confusion and fear. The dog stayed close to him, sniffing the unfamiliar air. The parents slowly regained full awareness, trying to understand what had happened. They weren't harmed. They weren't tied, restrained, or locked in anything painful. But they were not on Earth anymore. The mother held her son tightly while the father walked around the space, searching for any sign of an exit or something familiar. There was none dot above them. Unseen behind transparent panels, the aliens observed quietly, speaking in their own language, discussing the family's reactions. They had placed them in a special habitat that could shift temperature, humidity, and light, all controlled from a distance. Everything was prepared for the creature's arrival. The family didn't know that behind one massive wall, a wall that looked solid, but was actually a transparent barrier. From the alien side, a towering being was already waiting. It watched them with deep, curious eyes. It had never seen humans before, and the dog was the first one to sense it. The dog growled softly, not aggressively, but alert, its body stiff and focused on the wall that the family thought was just part of the room. The parents felt their hearts tighten. They followed the dog's gaze and felt a strange presence beyond the light. Something was there. Something. Big. Something watching. This moment marked the beginning of an encounter none of them could have imagined. And although they didn't know it yet, the reason they were taken was far stranger than any human story of aliens ever told. The dog kept staring at the tall wall, its body tense and its ears pointed forward. It wasn't barking loudly, but a low warning sound vibrated in its throat, the kind of sound dogs make when they sense something unknown. The family followed its gaze, unsure of what the dog had detected. The mother held her son close, and the father moved one careful step forward, trying to see if there was anything behind the strange wall. At first, it looked like nothing but a smooth silver surface. But the longer they looked, the more they felt something standing on the other side, quietly observing them. The air in the room felt different, heavier, filled with a strange kind of awareness. Then the wall changed. It didn't slide open or move like a door. Instead, it slowly turned transparent, like fog clearing from a window. Shapes began to appear behind it. Large shapes. Living shapes. The boy reached for the dog, holding on to its fur with trembling hands. As the wall became fully clear, the family finally saw what was standing on the other side. It was a creature, unlike anything they had imagined. It wasn't robotic, nor did it look like the aliens people talked about in stories. It stood several times taller than a human, but its posture wasn't aggressive. It had a heavy, muscular body, long limbs, and a head that looked powerful yet expressive. Its eyes glowed faintly, not with anger, but with curiosity. It looked like it was studying the humans the same way they were studying it. The creature breathed slowly, each breath creating a soft, deep sound that echoed slightly. Its eyes followed every movement the family made, especially the boy and the dog. The dog's growling grew louder for a moment, but there was no attack. No sudden movement from the creature. It didn't act like a predator. It simply stood still, watching. Invisible to the family, a group of alien observers monitored this moment carefully. They studied the creature's reactions, comparing them to recordings from older tests that had never gone well. Back then, the creature reacted with fear or frustration whenever exposed to unfamiliar beings. But this time, something was different. Instead of pacing or showing stress, it stayed silent and focused. The aliens watched everything, taking notes, adjusting settings, and whispering in their own language. Inside the habitat, the father moved slightly to shield his family, but he did it calmly, without shaking. The creature reacted by tilting its head, as if trying to understand why the humans stepped in front of the others. The mother whispered softly, "Don't move too fast." Her voice was gentle, almost trembling, but she tried to keep it steady for her son. The boy squeezed her hand, his eyes locked on the creature. He wasn't crying. He was scared, but he was also curious. Something about the creature didn't feel evil to him. The dog finally took one brave step forward. It wasn't attacking, just standing alert, its tail stiff. The creature lowered its head slightly, bringing its glowing eyes closer to the transparent wall. It looked at the dog the way a person might look at something they've never seen before. The dog barked once loud, sharp and quick. The creature flinched. Not in anger, but in surprise. The father's heart jumped. But before he could pull the dog back, something unexpected happened. The creature stepped backward, giving the dog space. It didn't react with fury or fear. It simply respected the dog's signal. This tiny moment, this small exchange, changed the entire direction of the experiment. The aliens above the room murmured among themselves. This had never happened before. No species had made the creature back away voluntarily. They expected the humans to freeze, hide, or attempt to run. Instead, the small animal, so tiny in comparison, had taken a protective stance, and the humans stood together rather than scatter. The aliens adjusted something. The wall between the creature and the humans slowly opened, but only halfway. Just enough for light, sound, and scent to pass through. Not enough for full contact. The family watched in silent tension, unsure of what would happen. The creature lifted its head again and let out a quiet sound, something between a hum and a breath. It wasn't threatening. It sounded more like confusion. It took a careful step forward, testing the space. The boy's eyes widened when he saw the creature's enormous foot move. Even the mother felt her breath catch. But the dog softened its growl just a bit. Sensing the creature wasn't trying to hurt anyone, the father slowly raised one hand. Not as a greeting, but as a way to show he wasn't hiding anything. This made the creature lean forward, studying the movement. For a moment, man and beast simply looked at each other, two worlds meeting for the first time. The aliens recorded every second. They watched how the creature's heartbeat slowed. They measured how its breathing steadied. In the past, the creature had always become restless when introduced to anything new. But the humans brought a strange sense of calm to it. Maybe it was because humans moved slowly, showing emotion through their eyes and body language. Maybe it was the child, small and harmless looking. Or maybe it was the dog, who stood like a brave little soldier, watching every step the creature took. The boy suddenly whispered, "It's not angry." His mother looked at him in surprise. "How do you know?" He shrugged slightly. "Its eyes don't look angry." The father didn't know what the creature was thinking, but he hoped the boy was right. The creature lowered itself a bit, as if trying to come to their level. The sound of its weight settling on the ground echoed around the habitat. The boy's grip on the dog loosened as he stared in awe. And the creature did something none of them expected. It reached out, not fast, not aggressively, but with slow, careful movements, and placed a small metal object on the ground near the opening. It was shaped like a smooth sphere, glowing faintly. It nudged it forward gently with one long finger. The aliens watching held their breath. This was something they had never seen the creature do before. The boy looked at the sphere, then at his parents. The father shook his head slightly, afraid of danger. But the creature didn't push any further. It stayed still, waiting patiently. The dog sniffed the air, picked up no danger, and stopped growling completely. After a long moment, the boy took a small step and rolled the sphere back, not too fast, just enough to show he understood the gesture. The creature watched the sphere roll and tilted its head. For a second, it seemed almost pleased. The aliens recorded the moment with interest. The creature had just initiated what humans would call play. This was not part of its typical behavior. It had never shown this kind of gentle curiosity before. The interaction didn't last long. The aliens wanted to avoid overwhelming either side. The transparent barrier slowly turned opaque again, separating the creature and the family for the time being. The child let out a breath he had been holding. The mother hugged him tightly. The father placed a hand on the dog's back, proud of how bravely it had acted. They were still scared, still confused. But now they understood that the creature wasn't just a threat. It was something intelligent, something capable of emotion and hesitation, something capable of connection. Above the room, the aliens replayed the footage again and again. They analyzed every gesture, every sound, every shift in behavior. The results were unlike anything in their records. The creature had responded calmly to a situation where it normally reacted with agitation. The aliens now had their biggest question. Was the creature learning from the humans? Or was something more profound happening? Down in the habitat, the family didn't know what the aliens planned next. They didn't know why they were chosen, why the creature seemed so curious, or what the coming days would bring. But the most important change had already begun. For the first time since they were taken, they weren't just afraid. They were part of something bigger, something they didn't understand yet, but something that had already started shaping the future of their strange journey. The next morning, if it could even be called morning in a place with no real sun, the family woke up slowly. The lighting in the habitat changed on its own, shifting from soft blue to a gentle warm glow, giving the feeling of sunrise even though they were somewhere far beyond Earth. The boy stretched sleepily. The dog curled up beside him. The mother sat up with a hand on her forehead, still trying to accept everything that had happened. The father was already awake, sitting quietly near the smooth wall where they had seen the creature the night before. None of them had slept peacefully, but exhaustion had eventually won. Still, even in sleep, they felt the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. Now that they were awake, that feeling returned immediately. The father watched the silver wall, wondering when it would turn transparent again. He had no plan for what to do when that happened. No one did. They didn't understand why they were brought here or what the aliens wanted from them. But one thing was clear. The creature wasn't what they first feared. It had acted cautious, almost gentle. That small exchange with the glowing sphere had changed something inside all of them. The dog stood up and shook its fur, ready for another day of alertness. It walked over to the father and sat next to him, staring at the same wall. Its posture was calm now, not stiff or worried like the night before. The dog seemed to sense that danger wasn't immediate. The boy joined them, rubbing his eyes. "Do you think it will come again?" he asked softly. The father didn't want to promise anything, but he nodded slightly. "Maybe. And if it does, we stay calm. Just like yesterday." The mother walked over too, holding her arms around herself for comfort. "I hope it's peaceful again," she said quietly. "We can't handle anything more frightening." Before they could say another word, the wall changed. Slowly, quietly, the silver surface became transparent once more. The family instinctively moved closer together. The dog standing at the front, like a tiny guardian. And there it was. The creature had been waiting. It stood in the same position. But this time, it wasn't staring with the tense curiosity of before. It looked almost relaxed. Its shoulders weren't stiff, and its breathing was steady. Its glowing eyes softened when they met the family's gaze, especially when they landed on the child. The boy didn't feel the same fear he felt the first time. Something about the creature seemed familiar now. Strange, yes. Massive, yes. But not threatening. The creature made a low, calm sound. It wasn't a roar or anything frightening. It was almost like a greeting, a gentle vibration that echoed smoothly through the space. The boy stepped forward before anyone could stop him. The father reached to hold him back, but then paused. The creature wasn't moving aggressively. It wasn't reacting poorly. Instead, it leaned forward slightly, watching the boy carefully, as though trying to understand him. The boy looked up at the creature through the half-open barrier. He didn't speak, but his eyes said enough. He wasn't just curious, he felt a strange sense of trust. The dog didn't growl this time. It simply stayed by the boy, observant but calm. The creature lowered itself to the ground again, this time even slower, even gentler. It looked almost like it was trying to make itself appear smaller, so it wouldn't scare them. Its long arms folded beside its body, and its head tilted slightly. It was trying to say, "I'm not here to harm you." Above them. The aliens continued to watch, more surprised than ever. They had never predicted this outcome. Not only was the creature calm, it was adapting, learning, responding to humans in a way it had rejected with every other species. The aliens whispered among themselves, exchanging notes and readings. They adjusted the barrier slightly, but didn't remove it. Inside the habitat, the boy noticed something on the floor near the barrier. It was the same glowing sphere from yesterday, but now there were two. Both were placed neatly in front of the creature, as if it had been waiting for the boy to play again. The boy knelt down, picked up one of the spheres, and rolled it toward the creature. It didn't roll fast. The boy made sure it moved slowly so he wouldn't startle it. The creature watched the rolling sphere with complete focus. When it reached the edge of the barrier, the creature extended a finger and tapped it lightly, sending it rolling back. The boy laughed. A small, genuine laugh that echoed softly in the big room. The creature paused at the sound. It lifted its head slightly, listening. The boy laughed again. The creature's eyes changed, just a little, but enough, for the boy to feel that the creature understood the emotion behind the sound. The father and mother both felt something shift inside them. For the first time since being taken, they felt hope. A fragile hope, but hope nonetheless. The father crouched beside his son. "You're doing good," he whispered. The mother watched the creature closely. She couldn't shake the feeling that it was intelligent, far more intelligent than a simple animal. It was watching them not with hunger or anger, but with curiosity, and possibly something even deeper, connection. The dog eventually approached the barrier too. It sniffed the faint air coming through the opening. The creature lowered its head and made a soft sound again. Not loud, almost like a whisper. The dog wagged its tail once, unsure but not afraid. The dog then did something surprising. It took a single step closer and sat down. The creature blinked slowly, as if acknowledging the dog's trust. The mother watched with wide eyes. "It understands the dog," she murmured. The father nodded. "Animals know emotions better than we do. Maybe that's why it responds to him." But the moment wasn't just touching for the humans. Above the room, one of the alien scientists adjusted a control, letting in a small holographic display in their observation area. It showed the creature's stress levels dropping significantly. Something the aliens had been trying to accomplish for years was now happening naturally because of this small human family and their dog. Back inside the habitat, the boy rolled the second sphere forward. This time, the creature didn't simply nudge it back. It gently picked it up with both hands, hands so large that the glowing ball looked tiny in them, and placed it in front of the boy, inching it through the barrier, opening. The boy accepted it without fear. "Thank you," he whispered automatically, forgetting for a moment where he was, and to whom he was speaking. The creature made another soft sound. The father and mother exchanged a glance. The dog remained seated, tail slowly moving back and forth. Minutes passed like this, quiet, calm, peaceful, a thin line between two worlds, meeting and understanding each other. But after a while, the barrier slowly began to shift again. The transparency returned to silver, and the opening sealed. The creature didn't react aggressively. It simply stepped back once, watching the humans as the wall closed. Its glowing eyes were the last thing they saw before the barrier returned to its solid form. The boy whispered, "Is it coming back?" The father placed a hand on his shoulder. "I think it will." The mother exhaled deeply, a mix of relief and worry. "Why us?" she asked. Why did it choose us? No one had an answer. Above them, the aliens were already planning the next stage of observation. They didn't want to frighten the humans or overwhelm the creature. But they could see clearly now that something unique was happening. Something that defied all their previous calculations. The family sat together afterward, the dog resting with its head on the boy's lap. The air felt less tense now. The fear that had once tightened their chests had loosened. They were still trapped, still uncertain, still far from home. But they had found an unexpected connection with a being they never thought they could understand. The father spoke quietly, as if thinking out loud, "Whatever is happening, we're part of it now. And maybe it needs us." The dog lifted its head as if agreeing. The mother held her son close, brushing a hand through his hair. "We stay together," she said, "no matter what comes next." The boy nodded. The dog settled again. The father stared at the silver wall thoughtfully. On the other side of that wall, the creature waited too, and none of them knew that this strange bond, the simple beginnings of trust, was about to change their situation in ways they never imagined. The family woke up the next cycle with a strange feeling in their chest. It wasn't fear this time. It wasn't panic or confusion. It was something else, something they couldn't properly explain. After everything that had happened, they felt a strange sort of calm, as if they had crossed an invisible line between terror and understanding. The dog stretched and moved toward the transparent wall, expecting the glowing creature to appear again. It had grown used to the routine, and the family realized they were starting to expect the same thing. The lighting in the room shifted the way it always did, mimicking morning. The father sat beside the wall again, this time without the worry-filled expression he once wore. The mother joined him, though she held her hands together nervously. The boy sat cross-legged with the dog resting between his legs, both of them staring at the wall with an unspoken excitement that soon the wall shimmered once, then twice. But instead of turning fully transparent like before, it only became partially clear. The creature was nowhere to be seen. The unusual silence made everyone sit up straighter. Something had changed. The father leaned closer to the cloudy surface, trying to see what was on the other side. "It's not here," he whispered. The boy frowned. "Why not? Did something happen?" The dog paced slowly, sniffing along the wall, perhaps sensing something beyond their ability to understand. Then the faint sound of distant footsteps echoed from the other side. Not heavy like the creature's, lighter, more precise, more intelligent. The mother whispered, "The aliens." No one needed to say more. They all felt it. For days, the aliens had stayed hidden, watching, controlling everything from above. They had never shown themselves directly. But now something was different. Maybe something had gone wrong. Or maybe the aliens wanted to change the experiment. The wall continued to flicker with a faint light. The family watched with wide eyes as shadowy shapes moved across the blurred surface. The shapes were tall, thin, and graceful. Not frightening, but definitely not human. The boy squeezed the dog a little closer, and the father placed a calming hand on the child's shoulder. The mother stepped just behind them, her heart beating faster with every passing moment, but the wall didn't open. It simply kept shifting between silver and faint transparency until the aliens moved out of sight. Then, slowly, the wall returned to full clarity. The creature stood there, but this time, something felt different about it. Its glowing eyes weren't calm like before. There was tension in its posture, a heaviness in its breathing. It looked like it had been disturbed or interrupted. The creature lowered its head slightly, looking directly at the humans, as if it was trying to say something but didn't have the ability. The boy whispered, "It looks worried." The father nodded. "I see that too." The dog tilted its head, ears forward. It sensed the creature's mood instantly. The creature moved closer to the barrier, then stepped back, then moved forward again. It seemed torn between wanting to approach and being pulled back by something invisible. The aliens must have done something. Maybe changed the conditions. Maybe adjusted the environment. The family didn't know, but the creature's behavior told them enough that it was not at ease. The mother felt her heart twist. Why does it look like that? What are they doing to it? The father wished he could answer, but he couldn't. Instead, he gently took her hand to keep her steady. The boy reached for one of the glowing spheres they had used during their earlier interactions. He rolled it slowly toward the half-open barrier, but the creature didn't respond the same way. It watched the sphere, but didn't move forward to return it. It simply stared, its eyes dimmer than before. Above the family, the aliens were debating, watching, calculating. Some of them were worried that the creature was forming an attachment that could affect its behavior. Others were fascinated, calling it a breakthrough. And a smaller group whispered concerns about what this connection could mean for their world. And they, humans, the boy tried again, rolling the sphere gently. "It's okay," he whispered as if speaking to a frightened animal. "We're still here." This time, the creature took a hesitant step forward. Its eyes softened slightly, though its movements remained cautious. It extended one long hand and nudged the sphere back weakly, almost as if it didn't have the same energy as before. The boy smiled, but the parents exchanged uneasy glances. Something wasn't right. The creature suddenly lifted its head and made a low sound. Not the calm, warm sound they had grown used to. This sound was deeper, heavier, almost sorrowful. The dog whimpered softly, the mother whispered. "It's trying to tell us something." The creature pressed its hand lightly against the barrier, right where the child stood. Its glowing eyes fixed on the boy's hand as he slowly reached forward and placed his palm on the same spot. The barrier pulsed faintly, where their hands aligned, as if the energy between the creature and the child created a spark the aliens had not expected. The aliens watching from above stepped back, startled. That reaction had not been recorded in any previous test. The creature stayed in that position for several long moments. The boy's hand remained steady, his small fingers gently pressed against the cold surface. Even the dog moved closer, placing a paw on the ground beneath the barrier, as if offering silent support. Then, suddenly, alarms echoed faintly from the alien control area above. The father stiffened. "What's happening?" The mother whispered. "They don't want this. Maybe. Maybe the connection isn't supposed to happen." The wall flickered again, this time more violently. The barrier began sealing itself far more quickly than before. The creature jerked back, distressed by the sudden movement. Its eyes widened, and it let out a deep, troubled sound. The boy cried out, "Wait! Don't close it!" But the barrier had already shut completely, turning silver again. The creature was now hidden behind a thick wall of metal-like material. The dog barked sharply, pacing back and forth in agitation. The boy ran to the wall, pressing his hands against it. He whispered, "Come back. Please come back." The mother rushed forward and hugged him tightly from behind. "It will come back," she said gently, hoping her words were true. The father stood there, staring at the solid wall, frustration and helplessness filling his chest. He wanted answers. He wanted to know what the aliens were planning, why they seemed to interfere right when the creature was finally forming a peaceful bond. But the aliens didn't speak. They didn't show themselves. They didn't offer explanations. They simply returned the habitat to its silent, closed state. For the rest of the cycle, the family felt heavy. The boy remained quiet, sitting near the wall with the dog by his side. The mother cooked the simple food provided by the aliens, though no one had much appetite. The father paced the room, trying to make sense of everything. Hours later, when the room dimmed to its night-like glow, the father finally spoke. "They're afraid of something," he said slowly. "Not of us, not of the creature, but of what happens when we're together." The mother looked up. "Why would they be afraid of that?" He sighed. "Because we're changing it. And maybe it's changing us too." The dog suddenly lifted its head, staring at the wall again. Its ears twitched. Its tail moved once. The boy leaned closer and whispered, "Is it there?" But the wall remained silent, and still no creature appeared. Still. The dog kept watching, as if it knew something was on the other side, and the family sat together in the soft, dim light, feeling both closer and more uncertain than ever. They didn't know what the aliens would do next. They didn't know if the creature was safe. But one thing was clear: whatever bond had formed, however fragile it was, it had become impossible for the aliens to ignore. And soon, that bond would force a choice neither side expected. Begins with a strange calmness inside the alien ship. The family, their little boy, and their loyal dog sat quietly near the center of the habitat, waiting for the next move from the aliens. After everything they had been through, the fear, the confusion, the strange bond with the creature, this silence felt heavier than anything else. It was the kind of silence that makes a person think deeply, even when they don't want to. They knew something was changing. For the past few days, the aliens had been watching them more closely than ever. The glowing panels on the walls flickered with unusual colors, and the floating drones that had once moved confidently now kept a bigger distance. Even the creature acted differently. It stayed closer to the family, as if sensing something serious was about to happen. The boy sat near the creature, resting his hand on its rough, warm skin. The creature let out a slow humming sound, something it only did when it felt calm and connected. Their dog sat right next to both of them, tail slowly tapping the ground in quiet comfort. The adults exchanged soft glances. They didn't speak because words felt unnecessary. Everything was uncertain, but one thing had become clear. This creature, that was once seen as a threat, had become their strange protector. Suddenly, a gentle vibration went through the floor. The lights dimmed, then brightened. A circular door at the far end of the habitat slowly opened, and a group of aliens entered. This time, there were no tools, no barriers, and no drones. They were standing there simply, as if they were just beings who needed to talk. Not, of course. They didn't use spoken words. But the family could feel their intentions. The aliens projected calm images into the air, pictures of Earth, the forest, where the family had disappeared, the road where their car had once been parked. It didn't take long for them to understand what the aliens were trying to say. It was time to go home, but there was something more. The images grew softer, then shifted to show the creature protecting the family from the drones. Then images of the family feeding the creature, touching it, comforting it. Then the dog, standing bravely in front of the family the first day the creature approached. The aliens showed these moments as if they were memories they did not want to lose. The adults felt a mix of relief and sadness. The boy looked up at the creatures, confused. "Are they sending us away?" he asked softly, almost whispering, even though nobody had spoken a word aloud. The mother nodded gently, placing a hand on her child's shoulder. "I think they think it's the right thing." The creature suddenly let out a deep sound. It wasn't angry. It wasn't hurt. It was something else, something emotional, like a farewell sound from a being who didn't have the words to express what it felt. The boy stood up and walked to the creature. He placed both hands on its massive face, and the creature lowered its head until it was almost level with his. The boy pressed his forehead against it, closing his eyes. The adults felt their own throats tighten at the sight. The dog stepped forward too, gently nudging the creature's leg. The creature responded by touching the dog lightly with the side of its head, almost like how two animals greet each other with quiet respect. The aliens projected another series of images, this time of the creature watching the family from afar, then alone inside the habitat. It seemed they were showing that the creature would remain here, even though the humans were leaving. The boy opened his eyes and looked up at his parents, a tear slipping down his cheek. "I don't want to go without him," he whispered. The mother knelt beside him, hugging him from behind. "I know. But sometimes we meet someone or something only for a short time. And even if we can't stay with them forever, the memory stays with us." The father placed a hand on both of their shoulders. "And maybe this creature needed you more than you needed it. You helped it change. You helped it understand kindness." The boy nodded slowly, though his heart hurt. The aliens formed a soft glowing path in the air. It led toward another door that had not opened before, one that looked like a large circular portal. The glow around it changed colors in gentle waves, almost like a soft invitation dot. The creature followed them to the edge of the path, but stopped there, as if it knew this was as far as it could go. It let out another deep rumbling sound, softer this time, almost like a goodbye. The family walked slowly, each step feeling emotional and heavy. The dog walked beside them, occasionally glancing back at the creature. Even the dog seemed to understand the moment. When they reached the portal, they turned around one last time. The creature stood tall behind the aliens, its eyes focused on the boy. The aliens stood quietly beside it, showing no signs of stopping the farewell. The boy lifted his hand, waving gently. The creature lifted one massive arm, mimicking the gesture in its own way. It made a low, soft call that echoed throughout the habitat. Then, with a final flash of warm light, The portal activated. The family felt a gentle pull. Not painful, not scary, more like being carried by a soft wave. There was a moment of weightlessness, a moment of warmth, and then a sudden calmness. When they opened their eyes, they were standing in the same forest where they had disappeared. The early morning sun was rising through the trees, and the air smelled fresh, almost too fresh after being inside a metallic ship for so long. Their car was nearby, untouched. It was parked exactly as it had been before everything happened. Like time had never moved at all. Dot the dog ran around happily, sniffing the ground, the trees, the air, everything familiar. The boy looked up at the sky slowly, searching for something, maybe hoping for a sign. The parents looked at each other. They didn't need to talk. They knew they could never explain this to anyone. Even if they tried, nobody would believe them. It would sound impossible, unreal, too strange to even consider Dot, so they walked back to their car, quietly holding hands. The boy kept looking up at the sky, and the dog stayed close to him. Days passed. Life slowly returned to normal, but inside their hearts, something had changed forever. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, the dog would suddenly lift its head, ears sharp, staring out the window toward the stars. The family always noticed, but they never asked questions. They knew the dog wasn't scared. It was recognizing something. Something far away, but familiar. And the boy, he never forgot the creature. Sometimes he would draw pictures of it. On paper, its large eyes, its tall body, the way it had bowed its head gently when they said goodbye. He never showed the drawings to anyone outside the family. It was their secret. A strange, unbelievable, beautiful secret. And sometimes, on clear nights, when the stars shone brighter than usual, the family would sit together outside, just looking up. They didn't know if the creature was still alive, or if the aliens were watching them. But somewhere deep inside, they felt a quiet connection, a feeling that no matter how far away the alien ship was, a part of it remained with them. The dog would curl up next to them, breathing calmly. The boy would lean against his parents, and the parents would hold each other, grateful to be home, grateful to be safe, and grateful for the strange, unexpected bond they shared with a creature from another world. And so, life went on, silent, peaceful, but never the same again.